What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the RXP podcast. Of course, this is the podcast where a bunch of working professionals talk all about their love for movies, TV shows, and video games. This week, though, we are doing our deep dive as we have a peer review on part 1 of Stranger Things Season 4. I'm, of course, one of your hosts, Matt, and today I am joined by our longtime friend, Yasser. What is up?
Testing. Yep, my mic is working. Hello.
All right, perfect. Perfect. This is the first step. And once we get this first step, like, we're basically doing this thing, this whole podcasting thing.
Lots of the races now, yeah.
I know. So, Yasser, Season 4, Part 1. Stranger Things. You and I have a mutual love for Stranger Things.
Yes, we do.
One, I hate that this is split into 2 parts, but like I get it because my hype is just like through the roof.
Right.
Like I am ready for July 1st so much. It's crazy. And I honestly, I guess that's what they're doing it for, maybe just to build up hype.
That's my guess too. Honestly, I'm not totally opposed to it. I kind of like to have some time to digest episodes, and so between the fact that I do usually watch one episode per day, like at most, and the fact that now we get even more time to digest, I don't know, I kind of like it, not gonna lie.
Dude, there's a lot to digest.
I know.
You need like a ton of Pepto, and you need to like just soak it all in, man, because these are some chunky episodes.
Yes, they are.
It's like an hour and a half.
And how long are the last 2 episodes?
I was thinking it's over 2 hours. The last episode is. I think it's like a full-fledged movie almost.
And then the second to last episode is how long?
I think it's also pretty long. I don't know, but these are ridiculous numbers.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I'm for, because we're watching like an hour and a half TV shows, and I'm enjoying every second of it. It does not feel like an hour and a half. So I guess just starting off, like we're starting Season 4. I honestly completely forgot what happened in Season 3. So I watched like a 15-minute video.
Oh, did you?
But yeah, it just like went through Season 1 through 3.
Yeah.
I was very thankful for it. Back at it, the Wheelers have moved.
Yes, they have.
Hopper is in Russia. 11 doesn't have her powers. Boom, we're back in it. Starting episode 1. What's your initial thoughts? Like, what did you think about this first part of the season?
Initial thoughts. Oh my gosh, that's a lot to answer in one go. Well, like you, I also didn't remember very much because it's been so long, like you said. I thought about doing something similar. Well, I was like kind of considering, should I do that or should I just rewatch all the first 3 seasons? And then I saw Netflix had this like recap that was like 2 minutes long. I decided to watch that first, see if that gave me enough, and I thought it was good. Like it gave me all the major notes from the last season. I was like, okay, I feel prepared enough. So my plan is to just go in kind of semi-blind because I don't remember everything, obviously, and then I think I'm actually gonna rewatch everything between this gap. Anyways.
Oh wow. Wow.
But with that in mind,
a lot.
It is a lot. But there's a lot of time in between, I think. So I'm not really watching anything currently, so I might as well, is the way that I see it. As far as what I thought of the latest season, I think it might be my favorite season. Again, I don't remember the first 3 that vividly, so it's hard to say for sure until we probably do this again for part 2. But for me, it's been like the most enjoyable, in my opinion, right off the top of my head. There's so much that happened that it almost gave me like Game of Thrones vibes, and the fact that like you're jumping around like 3 different places every episode, and you're like, like, oh shit, I forgot that we haven't seen what like Mike has been doing these last couple episodes. And speaking of which, we don't even know where Mike and his crew are after like since maybe episode 5, right? I don't know. I feel like we kind of like lost their plot halfway through. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they bring it all together at the end. I love the season. I thought it was a lot of fun, and like you said, the hours of episodes absolutely flew by.
I was just absolutely floored by this season because this released at the same time as Obi-Wan. I
Oh
booted
yeah.
up Obi-Wan, enjoyed it, fantastic, like very reminiscent of the original trilogy.
Really?
Gave me, uh just something that I felt like I have known all my life, which is Star Wars. It just like I felt good about it,
Now,
right?
when you
And
say
then
vibes of the original trilogy, you don't mean like Jar Jar Binks vibes, right?
no, like four through six. So
Oh, okay.
I felt, I felt like energized. I was ready. I hopped into season 4 of Stranger Things, and I was like, what is this? What, like, this has taken such a turn that I did not think would happen. It like went straight horror, and I don't
True.
I don't know if I expected that. Because like in the first episode, oh, and maybe I should go ahead and
Spoiler warning.
say this. Spoilers are going to happen. Sorry, I should have told you 6 minutes ago. Anyway, in the first episode, that cheerleader is getting haunted, and then she dies by getting like crunched up, her eyes gorged out or
Yeah.
gouged out. It was crazy. Like I did not expect it. This Vecna dude,
Uh-huh.
excellent.
So cool.
Excellent. He's like the like love child of Freddy Krueger and the dude who just got added to Dead by Daylight with the box. What's his name? Pinhead.
Pinhead, yeah.
Yeah, like crazy vibes from both of those dudes,
Yeah.
but absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, you could tell there was a lot of inspirations that this season took from various horror movies and just 80s vibes in general, which continues from the
Hmm.
first 3 seasons, which I love. I don't know why I love 80s vibes so much. Like, we're not 80s kids, but for some reason, just
Yeah,
I vibe with 80s vibes.
yeah. There's just something about it. There's just something about it. I'm with you because I love the multiple storylines happening all at once. I think that sometimes some people fumble it, and you
Hmm.
get to a point where it's like you're going down a road and then they jump to the other path and you're like, dang it, like I wanted to stay on that road.
Right.
But for this season, I felt like I was invested in every single one, whether it was Hopper or whether it was 11. I was into everything.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's really easy to fumble that. Like you said, you could either get bored from one of the plot lines or you just get lost because there's just so much going on and you're jumping around so much. But I think they did a good job of stringing it together and made sure that all the plot lines were at least somewhat interesting. And I feel like some of them, like the Hopper one, for example, I thought it took a little bit more time to get going, but once it did, I thought it was great. In comparison to the other ones that kind of started out really hot, like the one like what was happening in Hawkins. Obviously, there was a bunch of cool
Hmm.
things going on immediately, but the Hopper storyline took a little bit longer. But once you got towards the end of the first part of this season, some crazy stuff was going on, to say the least.
Just crazy. You know, you talk about Game of Thrones, and that Russian guard is from Game of Thrones, the faceless man that trained Arya Stark.
Oh, you mean the traitor guy? Yeah,
Yeah,
you know what? I never put that together
yes,
until you just said
dude,
that.
so
That's
good, so
hilarious. That's
good.
a very good
I
point.
loved his character.
In Game of
I
Thrones
thought
or in Stranger Things?
both,
Yeah, I
both.
agree.
um, I he's like one of those guys. Like he was a faceless guy in Game of Thrones, and I feel
Mhm.
like I made a remark like I've never seen this dude in anything else, and I think this is the second thing I've seen him in. Like,
Yeah.
but fantastic, just like so good.
Yeah, and very
Really enjoyed
different
it.
character this time around too. Like not
Yeah.
as like restrained as what he was in Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm. So as far as this whole show, because I feel like if we don't try to limit ourselves, we'll go on for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
I want to know kind of like what would you say is your biggest moment of this entire season?
Oh man.
And if you need time to think, I've got one locked and ready
Go
to
for it.
go.
Go first. Go first.
Because what I love,
Uh-huh.
and this is going back to the multiple paths that we're going down,
Yeah.
is the small connection that was made at the end of the season where we're going down Elle's path.
Oh
her
man,
time in
I think
Hawkins,
I know where
the
you're going.
entire
Yeah.
the entire time thinking that she is the reason of this massacre at Hawkins Lab. And I think
Right.
that like it was the massacre at Hawkins Lab was the episode 7 title.
Hmm.
You're going down this entire way, you hear about number 1 in passing earlier in the season.
Like once.
And
Yeah.
then when you realize that not only is number 1 the person that she is like having a confidant on, she releases his powers, he then kills everyone,
Yeah.
and then she sends him into the upside down, and that's Vecna.
She created the fucking gate.
She created it. This entire time, Yasser, let me just tell you, I went halfway through this season, and they're like, Mike was telling somebody like, yeah, they just try to kill Elle like anytime they get, and I was thinking,
Why?
why,
Yeah.
why on earth are they trying to kill this one small child who's
Right.
not a small child anymore? But they put it together, and
So
I
well too.
actually understand now why the entire 4 seasons have actually happened, and it's
Hmm.
all because of this little like pocket of lore that happened in episode 7 that absolutely blew my mind. Just blew it.
Honestly, I totally agree with you. I think that was a huge mic drop when they did that because I think they did give us a decent amount of hints going in. Like for example, when Brenner was saying like we got to hold off on the truth. We don't want to tell her right away, blah blah blah. I felt like there was something that they were not telling us.
Mm,
In the fact that like yeah, of course, we all assume she did it based on how they showed us the massacre, but the
mm,
fact that they were telling us that there's a secret that they're keeping from her made me think about that a little bit more and made me think maybe she wasn't the person who did it. But the fact that it came all the way around to him being Vecna too is what really blew my mind because I couldn't figure out why that this would have been happening before 11 even was born, right? Like
mm-hmm.
that was the biggest
Yeah.
question mark, at least for me, is like how could this have possibly been happening even before the massacre at Hawkins and before the entire timeline? And this seamlessly puts it all together because you realize that one was doing this shit before he even came into the lab with Brenner at all. And so
Mm-hmm.
what the dad thought he experienced is not anything like what actually went down, which is just so good in my opinion. I don't think I have anything that can top that.
Yeah, like it's honestly the moment, and it's one of those moments where I think it really defines this series because it was almost like a payoff 4 seasons in the making,
Yeah.
and that it just tied in that with the whole Victor Creel thing going on and on and on, and I was like, I honestly don't know. I know I'm going to have to care about this Victor Creel storyline. Like it's spooky, but like it's giving me the context. But then I'm like, okay, was that just to tell us the context? But
Yeah.
that it's Victor Creel's son, just, just shocking, just absolutely shocking.
Yeah,
Um,
it made me think like how long they knew this. I read a couple interviews that they posted after I watched the full part 1 of the season.
uh-huh.
And the writers were saying that they knew like broad strokes of what was supposed to happen, but they didn't know the specifics on how it all went down. So I just think that that's incredible that they were able to put it together that seamlessly,
Hmm.
where it didn't feel like it was just hacked on at the end, like Game of Thrones, for example, or like
Yeah.
countless other shows that just really quickly wrap up things. And of course, we still have
Hmm.
2 long episodes to go where they can go into even more detail if they want to. But I just think they did a really good job of doing that reveal without it being like rushed in a way, like a lot of shows do.
Hmm. I was watching movies that made us. I feel like I've been watching this. It's one of those things that I go back to
I really need to start
anytime
watching
that I'm
that. I remember we talked
yeah,
about
because
this during Batman too.
like anytime I have a lull in shows that I need to watch,
Hmm.
I just like pick up an episode. They were talking about The Nightmare Before Christmas and how they hired a writer, and that writer I guess got like addicted to cocaine and like blew all their money, and they had to go on with production. So they made the songs, And from the songs, they made the entire script like all last minute. And it's crazy like to see kind of where we've gone from now to knowing broad strokes in storylines
Right.
to being able like this is so detailed and like such a it was like beautifully represented in the script to where when I knew about it was when 11 was knowing about it. Like that it wasn't super obvious to where I knew like 3 episodes ago and I was waiting for them to tell me what I already knew. Like
Right.
that to
Yeah,
me is
exactly.
just brilliant. Just so brilliant.
Yeah, I totally
I
agree with
really
you. Oh, go
I
ahead.
really
Sorry.
like how Vecna is kind of like a person. I think my biggest beef with season 2 in season 2, I'll be honest, don't remember too much about what was going on. Season 3 was like the mind flare, and it was basically this big like meat
Oh, was Mind Flayer not
spider.
season 2?
Uh,
Maybe I
I
don't remember
think it
season
was.
2 either.
Um, I can't, actually no. The Mind Flayer was season 2, but it was like personified in season 3. I think it
Okay.
like turned into that like meat spider, and it like messed up the mall and things.
Yeah.
Like I'm an expert, Yasser. I watched a 15-minute YouTube video about this.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry.
Yeah, listen, all right. But I love that this. I'm just scared to death. Anytime that they're in the upside down or they're just in a group, that they can just kind of like click and then be with him. That to me is just so terrifying. With the whole Max thing, Max kind of like getting picked on because she has like all this trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And then more recently with Nancy going through the portal to get back to the real world. And then boom, she was with
That was pretty
Vecna
cool. Yeah.
because of what's her face from season 1.
Uh,
Barb?
Barb. It's Barb. Yeah.
Barb. Okay, cool.
Sorry, Barb.
And it was chilling when he was like, "Do you ever?" He like asked her something like, "Do you remember this, Nancy?" Like, I remember everyone I killed, and it's like he's been here the entire time.
Yeah, that was a really cool tie back to the first season, which I was not expecting,
Yeah.
but I love that they pulled that off. I think you're absolutely right. I totally agree with you that Vecna is a much more relatable character now, especially at the end of the season when we understand who Vecna is. I thought I was a little bit less relatable early on because he was this like kind of like how Dustin explained him. He was like this 5-star general now that was just the next bad guy. It's like, okay, well, that's cool,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. They just keep getting stronger. But now that we understand that Vecna was like the one in charge of all this, the one that has started all this, being that he's number one, definitely makes him much more relatable because we have that backstory now with 11 that really paid off, I think, in the end. And I really like that the fact they used Vecna to kind of push a lot of other storylines throughout the show. Like they introduced several characters using Vecna's storyline where you got to see other students that we didn't see in previous seasons and what their insecurities were and how that
Mm-hmm.
ties into what Max's insecurities were after season 3 with her brother dying. I thought it was really well done and we talked about this a little bit on a text message thread, but we almost thought Max was gonna die. Like we were, we were pretty sure that her days were
So
numbered,
close.
and then she just survives by the skin of her teeth. That was
By the
an
skin of
incredible,
the plot armor.
yeah. But that was an incredible ending of the episode. Like I felt out of breath.
I'm so glad you said that because honestly, like the ballpark moment, if it wasn't that final episode, it was that episode 4 or 5
Yeah,
whenever Max was like almost dying and Vecna was throwing things at her
yeah.
from above. I honestly, that scene ended and I finally breathed. Like
Right.
I was holding my breath and I'm like, this is it. This is it. Is this like she's like saying her goodbyes in this weird way
Hmm.
and I'm like, I guess is this all that she has to give as a character? Like, are they really cutting her short? And I'm so glad they didn't, because I do think that she's got more to say. You know, maybe she'll only last one more episode, but like, I'm glad she at least made it this far.
No, I totally
But
agree with you. I love Max as a character. Like, I think she's one of the most underrated
mhm.
characters on the show, because she doesn't get as much screen time as a lot of the main characters do. I think she really is a side character in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
But the emotional depth of her character and her backstory, I think, is one of the best on the show. And it would have really been sad, in my opinion, if they cut it short there. But I'm just glad they didn't.
Yeah, yeah. She really has stepped up, and like, honestly, I think a lot of the characters that have come back have like been fantastic. No one is
Yeah.
wasted. There's like no character that has come back that I'm like, dang it, you again. Like, why are you here again?
Right. No, we don't.
Winona Ryder is less and less annoying from the first season. Like, she's getting better with every season. It's just great. It's a great time.
I've never. Okay, so I listened to that one episode that you guys were talking about Stranger Things briefly, and
Hmm.
I was slightly offended by the Winona Ryder uh, discussion there. I don't know what else to call it. You guys were shitting on her pretty hard. I don't think she's been like fantastic throughout the entire show, but I thought her plot line with like the lights and everything, where she was this like crazy woman, crazy mother trying to get her son back, I thought it was really good. But it was funny to listen to you guys talk about Winona Ryder.
Like, season 1 was just crazy. And honestly, like, I'm not a mother, so maybe I would be the exact same way, like, if I was in her shoes. So like, I enjoy it. I'm just much happier that she knows that Will is at home, safe. Even though like a SWAT team
He's
came
actually in
into
mortal
their home
danger,
and
but
killed
it's
everybody.
fine.
As long as Winona Ryder doesn't know about it, I
Yeah.
don't care.
Now she's just doing karate moves with her best friend.
Yeah. With Yuri. Can
Well,
we talk
against
about Yuri
Yuri.
for a
Oh my
second?
gosh. Oh my god. the
That dude is amazing.
the scenes with Winona, the guy who plays Murray, and then the guy who plays Yuri are just incredible. They're just incredible.
They're so
Like
good.
comedic brilliance between the three of them. And when Murray decides that he's actually a capable like karate sensei or whatever you want to call it, and goes
Yeah.
full karate mode on us, oh my god, it was so good.
And then he like knocks out Yuri.
An accident. He was in the zone.
And he's like pumped about it. He's like, "Yeah, call me sensei."
What was his line? It was like my hands are crows or something. I don't even know what it was. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was something crazy.
It was great.
But that storyline, Murray honestly has just aged like a fine wine.
Yes, he has.
That actor is so good, and him with Yuri is even better.
Yeah.
Especially when he's trying to impersonate Yuri. So funny.
And the multiple
So
times
funny.
that you think he's gonna get caught, it's like, ah, no, you're just a bigger shithead than we thought.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh
Those are
gosh.
so
Yeah,
good.
Yuri's great.
We love
Um,
Yuri here.
We're big Yuri fans. I'm also a big fan of Argyle, who
Oh, yeah.
I thought that Yuri was going to take the cake, but then Argyle came out of nowhere, and I'm like, this dude knows what's up. He is so funny.
Everyone knows you
he's
need
like-
to have the classic like California stoner if you're gonna have California scenes. Like that's just it's a rule. So
Exactly. Yeah, like, we don't make the law, all right? We just uphold it here. That dude, so funny. I find all of the humor, like all the weed humor, just super funny. Even in the beginning when Eleven is like writing Mike and she's like, Jonathan and his best friend eat vegetables together, or like something, but she told me not to tell whatever her name is about
Yeah.
it. Whoever Winona Ryder's character is, I forgot her name.
Joyce.
Joyce, that was it. I was about to call her Nancy, and I was like, that's
That's
not
not
right. Argyle is just so funny.
Oh,
It's so funny.
He's hilarious.
I think my favorite moment is when they buried the police officer.
He wants to put a tombstone from a pizza box.
Puts a tombstone, and he's like, "I'm just gonna write love, Jonathan, Mike, and Argyle." And Jonathan's like, "You're gonna put our names?" And he's like, "They're common names." And I'm like, "What person is named Argyle?"
I love Argyle, man.
It's so funny. Like, I just feel like there's so many lines that I'm gonna want to rewatch this season just to listen to them again.
Absolutely. He's got classic lines that I don't know off the top of my head, but I just love them. Like when he came through to deliver a pizza as the shootout was happening, he had a classic line. I don't remember what it was, but my God, I was laughing my ass.
He's like, "Buyers throwing a party. Not cool, man."
Oh my God!
Oh my gosh!
Guy. And how he was just so clueless. Like, why? Why do they have guns? Oh, he was so good.
Oh,
we love you, Argyle.
Argyle and Yuri forever, man, forever. Oh gosh. Yeah, this season honestly just has everything. Like, it has the humor, it has the drama, it has the lore that brings it back to everything. Mm-hmm. I honestly can't think of anything I would want more or less of going into part 2.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they did a really good job of balancing more or less all the characters on the show. And like, we haven't even talked about like Steve Harrington and Nancy's a little subplot. Like, there's a lot going on in that subplot that we haven't even touched on, and they did a really good job with that too. And pulling Robin in as like the third wheel of that crew is fantastic, because I love Robin's character and I wanted her to get more screen time, and she's gotten it this season, and I love every minute of it. It's really crazy to think, but like everything I think of as far as like the plot lines they followed and the characters of the show, I have nothing but good things to say, which is crazy.
Steve Harrington continues to have the best character arc of any TV show that has come through recently. Like, that dude from the beginning, rooting against him, being like, "Nancy, you deserve better."
Right.
Now, season 4, I'm like, "Nancy, dump that weed smoking dude from California away. Get back with Steve. He's the ultimate babysitter."
Yeah,
be with him.
And the show's like guiding us towards that plot line too. Like, oh my gosh, there's so much to unravel there.
And like, I'm cautiously optimistic, because this season has gone flawlessly at this point in my mind. Mm-hmm. I know that all 3 storylines are going to converge together, right, and just like become this big storyline at the end. And there's a lot of complex storylines happening, and I just hope everybody sticks the landing. And right, I think it could be done, but that's a lot of pressure, because it's super detailed and super good right now.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna be crazy when all like 5 plot lines are coming together all at once, these last 2 episodes. Because honestly, like, as much as I love Steve, like, trust me, we've talked about this at length. We love Steve. Jonathan Byers has gotten like the short end of the string this season so far. But I fully expect him to be in the mix towards the end. And he's going to do some badass shit too. And they're going to have to reconcile whatever the fuck they're going through, him and Nancy. But there's obviously something there too. So I'm not fully on board with like, hey, this Steve Nancy thing has to happen. But it's going to be interesting to see how it all kind of, whether or not it's clean or not, I'm not sure, but how it kind of wraps up at the end. I think we might lose some people. I wouldn't be surprised if we lost Steve or Jonathan, because I don't think that Nancy's going to be able to reconcile having both of them alive. That's the way I feel.
Yeah, it's really sucks to hear, because like, we're going to at least lose one, if not 2, if not more. Like, there's no way. We've had so many close calls, and there's been how many deaths in Hawkins? 3 so far, if you don't even count the cops. Yeah. So this dude is going at it. He's going to get to it, and we'll see. We'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
I mean,
I'm
if
not sure.
nobody died, it would be a little bit strange because number one's like way too strong. Like he's stronger than 11. I think it's gonna
Yeah.
cause or it's gonna require someone to die for 11 to
Yeah.
get upset again, like upset enough where she
Hmm.
is able to actually throw or trade blows with him because he's like in a whole nother league. And we saw
Hmm.
that back in the flashbacks, which obviously Eleven's grown a lot since then, but she's still not nearly where he was at that point. So
Yeah.
considering where he is now, I think we're gonna see some bloodshed. Also, is this gonna be the last season? Like, is this it, or has that not been confirmed yet?
I don't know. I don't know if it's been confirmed yet.
Okay.
Honestly, my question is, I guess it depends on how they end it, but if they destroy Vecna,
The
I feel
storyline's
like
over.
this is a perfect time to stop this series.
I would agree.
Like, stop it on top.
Yeah.
Uh, I would be worried if they continued on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I totally agree with you, but what show goes out on top like this? Like they're gonna probably be breaking records if I had to guess with this
Hmm.
season. So I can't imagine them breaking records and then saying, "Okay, we're done." But yeah, you're right. Like if Vecna dies, there's nothing to go
Hmm.
off of. So they would have to have like a teaser at the end or something to make it make sense.
Yeah. It's like,
So
oh, we made all this money.
yeah,
I'm good. This is
right.
enough. Yeah, I'm sure Netflix has always said that.
Yeah, of course. As like they're reeling with other shows right now.
Yeah.
So are we in agreement that we would want it to end here or do we want them like in our heart of hearts to find a way to keep it going? Cuz obviously we both love the show, so I think it's an honest question to ask.
I love the show, but I think I would want this to end. If Vecna is defeated, I would want it to end because I want it to end on top.
Yeah.
The problem with Game of Thrones, I love Game of Thrones. Every time I talk to someone about Game of Thrones, they go, "Didn't that end poorly?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. It did. Just watch, the first 7 seasons. You'll
I
be
would say
good."
6, but yeah, I'm in agreement.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't want that to happen. Like,
Yeah.
I think Stranger Things is one of the best scenarios for a Netflix show. Like,
Mhm.
Netflix show when Stranger Things was beginning to happen was like almost an insult. It was like a less degree of quality. Oh, it's good for a Netflix show. And now we know that Netflix shows can be bomb. And
Yeah.
Stranger Things was a big part of that.
For sure. I think I'm in agreement with you. I think it's a different situation than what Game of Thrones was and what with a lot of other shows. I mean, I could almost compare it to Lost. You know how much I love Lost.
Hmm.
Where it's not that you don't have storylines to work with, but you can almost overstay your welcome, which is not what happened with Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, they just ran out of material because our boy uh, GRR is taking quite a long time on that last book. But in this situation, it's more you're just worried that they're going to overstay their welcome and it's just not going to be as good if we
Hmm.
start losing characters and actors or actresses decide they don't want to continue doing the show. That's when it can kind of
Hmm.
fall apart. So I think I agree with you. I think we ideally would stop here, but it'll be
Hmm.
interesting to see what they do. I'm on board no matter what, but I think I agree.
And it'll be interesting too because maybe Dustin is right. Maybe this is a general for a bigger bad. Like maybe because like we
You
saw
think Vecna?
Vecna.
No, but we saw he had the number one on his arm.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean like he got like electrocuted when he went into the upside
Uh
down.
huh.
He basically looked like Darth Vader,
Uh huh. Yeah, yeah.
Anakin Skywalker at the end of like episode 3.
Nice Star
Like
Wars
he looked.
reference. Very good.
Yeah, thank you. Just slide that right in there. But now he's like covered in vines and everything,
Hmm.
and it's almost like, did someone heal him and give him special powers? Like, what
Oh.
is this? Like, did someone find him in the Upside Down and
Whoa.
it has been using him to get back to 11? But maybe they're like trying to take over the world. Like that classic man behind the curtain.
Dude, I think when you said that, I got shivers. I feel like you just like unlocked something, but we'll see. That would be really interesting because I
That would
could
be
totally
sick.
see that. I could totally see that.
So if that happens, then let's do it. Like one final season.
Yeah.
But if Vecna is it and they don't reveal that there's someone else,
Yeah.
I hope it, goes off on top. All right. Final predictions on who's going to die next season.
Oh man. Okay, how about we do a draft?
Okay.
Like,
all right.
Who's your number one pick if you're sure that these guys?
I've got pen and paper.
Okay. Should I open up Notepad? Okay, you go. It's fine.
I'll give you first. I'll give you first pick. And the first pick of the 2022 Stranger Things Death Draft, Yasser selects.
You know who I'm gonna go with? I'm gonna go with 11.
Whoa.
Yeah, that would be pretty dark,
man.
But that would wrap things up.
Very dark.
It's okay. This show's over.
Like I could see it.
Yeah.
I could see it though, because it's like, oh, I can't kill him without killing me. Like I could see that. That would mean no season 5 for sure. You could
get like that. Those kind of Harry Potter vibes until they gave Harry his plot armor.
Yeah. I remember that. Remember that fondly. All right. I was sold with you talking about Jonathan.
We talked about Jonathan and Steve, but it looks like you're sold on Jonathan specifically.
I'm kind of sold on Jonathan, and hear me out.
Okay.
I think that 11 is closer to Jonathan. And I think that
okay. Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. So you're like you were hyping me up when you started saying to get her back to her powers, she needs that like break. And I think it's got to be Jonathan. So I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with Jonathan. Number 1. All right. Well, maybe 2 more picks.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. You saying that made me think of something completely different. Okay. I was about to say Steve Harrington. I'm gonna just give you a little insight there, even though you might use it against me.
It's true.
I'm now thinking after you said that it's gonna be Will, because Will is like her best friend, and that would be huge. That would be like gigantic if he somehow passed away. And obviously he's connected to everybody, not only her, but the original cast of Friends, and then obviously Joyce. So like that would touch everyone, and it would be huge.
Yeah, that is huge. I think that Will, or just really the Byers boys, I think that Jonathan and Will have taken a back seat. And in my mind, it's like they must have something else planned.
But imagine
like everyone else.
Imagine rewatching this season knowing that Will is gonna die, and like all the times that he stuck up for her. Man, that would be rough. Yeah. I hope I'm wrong.
Oh, that skater rink. Just talking about that skater rink.
Oh my god. Terrible. Should we talk about that? I don't know.
I don't even want to talk about it. Like my stomach hurt the entire time. It was just so embarrassing.
That really pissed me off. I think that's one of the few scenes that really bothered me. I was like, what the? Like no adult cared when they wiped her out in the middle of the rink. And then everyone was shook when she slammed that girl's face in, which I thought was beautiful.
Yeah. I'm like, listen, you've got 2 skates. You got 2 hands. Why are you only using 1? Come on, 11. It's math.
All right. Pick number 2 for you.
My pick number 2. Oh gosh, this is just so tough. Oh gosh, I don't even. This is like picking your favorite kid. It's like, or I guess least favorite kid. Yeah. I'm gonna go with the weird one.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go with Nancy.
Oh.
And I think it's just gonna come out of nowhere. She's already in the bad place, which makes me think she's safe. And I think a lot of people think that, she's with Vecna right now. So it's like, listen, she would have already been dead, But I think Nancy is going to pull on the heartstrings. I'm basically going with Jonathan and Nancy. And, we'll see what happens. I really like your Will pick, though. I really hate that you picked him. That's really good. Really,
I got him with
the
second pick, too. What a bargain.
I know. What a bargain.
All right, I guess I'll just wrap up with saying Steve, because I think you have a good point with Nancy. Someone in that trio is going to die, and I'm not I'm not gonna say it's Robin because Robin's too important to me. So one of those three are gonna die.
Yeah. And I'm going to go my last with Mike.
Wait, what? Oh, did
Yeah.
I go first? Okay.
Yeah, you went first. You went
Okay,
first. You went
okay.
first.
Mike?
Um, yeah. And I'm just thinking about
Oh, okay.
I think
No,
the
that could
problem
be
is
just as good as Will potentially.
exactly. I think we're going to see potentially more than one of these people die
Yeah,
in
I
the
agree.
second part.
I agree.
And so if Jonathan is not enough of a thing to get her going, then the one person she definitely doesn't want to die is Mike.
Yeah.
And I think that would be terrible. But I think any of these would be terrible. But
You,
oof,
you know
I'm
what?
just ready to hurt.
You know what we're definitely gonna have in the last two episodes, whether Mike dies or not, is him telling Eleven that he loves her. Like after he didn't say it in the first part of the
Yeah,
season, it's gonna happen.
yeah.
And it's gonna be very emotional. And I don't know if that's like gonna be
hmm
when one of them dies or whatnot, but
When he sacrifices himself,
or Eleven
or when she
sacrifices herself.
sacrifices
Yeah, it's
herself.
gonna happen. I just don't know when or how it's gonna play
That's
out.
that's a good call. That's a really good call. Really good call.
We're gonna be hitting the feels a few times, I think.
I think so. I think so. I think you're so right. And I'm so sad about it. Um, all right. Final rank. Last thing we'll do. You've already said you sticking with it so far. Is this on track to being your number one season of Stranger Things?
Yeah, I'm sticking with that. We can come back to this after we watch part two because that's obviously
Mm-hmm.
part of the season, and at that point I'll have watched the first three again. So
Yeah.
that'll be my definitive ranking. But right now, I think it's from what I remember, this is easily the best season.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think as long as this sticks the landing, there's nothing that can take it down. I think season one was great, super effective, new, everything about it was fun.
Yep,
But this is just so incredible.
it just
I
takes
really
everything to the
enjoyed it.
next level. Yeah,
Yeah,
like everything we
exactly.
loved about season one, but like on steroids.
And they've kind of grown up with us.
Yeah,
Like now these actors are 19, 20. They're supposed to be, 14, but they're acting so much better than they did in the first season.
right, right.
And I'm really enjoying that.
I
Really, really
think
enjoying
I
that.
think that's part of why I like this season so much is because I think you've seen the actors' growth across the board. And
hmm
honestly, I don't feel like I know that they're a lot older now. I get it, but I haven't
hmm
felt like it's been. I don't know what they did or how they did it exactly, but I don't feel like it's been such a huge jump where like we need some sort of plot explanation for why this happened. I feel like it works. We just know it's a little bit later, and
hmm
maybe it's just because I don't remember season three and how young they looked. did
Yeah.
you have any like weird feelings about that?
It was just because I watched, my extensive 15-minute video ahead of
Was that
time
enough?
and saw them being babies,
Yeah.
and then now they're not. Like now Mike is like super tall, this
Yeah.
lanky dude, but also like they're supposed to be in ninth grade, and that's when I had a big growth spurt. So this
Sure.
could just be part of canon. Like this is just what happens.
Possibly. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Um going off of that for a second, what did you think of this might be completely rambling for no reason at this point. But what did you think of the CGI they did with 11 being young again? Cuz I didn't think it was that good.
I It took me a while to realize what they were doing.
Oh,
Um,
did you not realize it was like CGI?
I didn't realize at first, and I
Okay.
was like, why does she look different? Did they have to shave her head again? And then I realized after a while. I didn't mind it. I knew what they had to do.
Yeah, I
I
mean it
feel
was a
like
tough
it's
situation.
yeah, it's like similar to when you have someone very very old playing someone like in a movie or something, and they de-age him for like a
Yeah.
flashback. Um,
I
I
think
felt the same as that basically.
Yeah, I think you're right, but the only problem with that is we saw what she looked like when she was younger, and it just looked a little off, is all. It's not like it was that off,
Mm,
but it was
okay.
just enough off. It's like, wait a minute, 11 didn't look like that. But anyways,
Yeah.
total
I
ramble.
think
It didn't take away from the show. I just it just came to mind when we were talking about the characters' ages.
Yeah, I like it. Hey, if that's the biggest complaint we
I
have,
know.
we've got a good season on our
We're
hands,
doing
man. We
okay.
still got 2 episodes to go. 2 chunky ones.
2 real chunk ones.
Yas, thanks for joining me today.
Happy to be
And
here.
hey, we're gonna talk about part 2, so everyone stick on by for that. Without further ado, we will close on out. If you want to tell us all about your thoughts, hit us up on Twitter at RXP_podcast or on our Gmail at RXP podcast at gmail.com. Sorry, it's been a while since I said that. Otherwise, we will see you next time for part 2.
Is there gonna be Grandmaster Doug?
Oh, and Grandmaster Doug. Thanks, Yasser.
That's how you know I watched the show.
Yeah.